Hi, how's it going? This is Resin of Collinwood for YouTube, Resin _of Collinwood for BitChute, and I'm here to do a Dark Shadows video entitled, Was Angelique the Real Hero of Dark Shadows? This was inspired by the folks at the Collinsport Historical Society. Shout out to all of them. See, I did that, just everybody involved. So, I'm going to use my wrestling terminology first, and then I'm going to get into the character of Angelique. You know, wrestling terminology is there are heels and there are baby faces. And just because somebody's not wearing black doesn't mean they're not a heel. A heel or a baby face all depends on a person's actions, or sometimes inactions. And I think that definitely fits Angelique. Angelique is a heel for how she acted. You know, she is very much an antagonist. But in her final moments of being alive, her final acts perhaps make her the biggest babyface in Dark Shadows history. For all the wrongs she has done, she completely 180s herself, how she's been, and chooses to help Barnabas. Now, this ain't the first time she's helped Barnabas before in 1897. You know, when I think of Angelique, I think of what this series started off as. This series started off with a woman named Victoria Winters searching for her identity. Now, is Angelique searching for her identity? No, but she's searching to keep her identity in many ways. I think she's trying to remind herself, at times, you're not Angelique. You're not really Angelique. You're allowing yourself to be Angelique. You're allowing yourself to be this witch. You're the one doing the powers. You're the one committing the acts. And I think it takes literally the very end for Angelique to finally realize, this has been my choice all along, to use these powers for however I see fit. And I think that's something Angelique finally came to terms with by the time her life was over. Even before then, even before her life ends, actually, really, that she came to terms with that. Even before the 1840 timeline, I would say 1897 is a great example of she came to terms with it. And when Barnabas and Julia Hoffman travel back to 1840, and they take the risk in trusting Angelique with the information they have, that risk pays off, because Angelique comes to the realization, things are coming full circle for me, finally. And if this had happened, if you think about everything that happens to Angelique prior to 1840, because remember, them going back in time, it sort of nullifies everything that sort of did happen to Angelique in the 1970s, sort of, in the 1960s and 70s. She doesn't know they've happened because they haven't happened yet. So when they go back in time, when Barnabas and Julia are going back in time, and they're telling the 1840 Angelique this, they're taking a huge gamble and a huge roll of the dice. And Angelique, though she knows the truth about who cursed her, does she have to help them? No, she doesn't. Helping is a choice, and a conscious choice is what she makes to do the right thing. Does that make her a hero? Absolutely, 1000%. Angelique, again, for all the wrongs, she chose to do the right thing. Here's a woman. It's not that Angelique didn't know who she was. Angelique, in a weird about way, forgot what her moral principles originally were. She forgot what she stood for. And that's almost like forgetting who you are, because what you stand for often defines who you are. And I think once she realized, hey, this is what I did stand for, I could still stand for that. And 1897 and 1840 Angelique definitely show that. So Angelique, I think there's a fly behind me. I see it. Evil fly. That's not the Dark Shadows fly, I swear. Um, but I definitely think that Angelique was a hero by the time Dark Shadows ended. You know, she was a hero in 1897 when she chose to help Barnabas with Quentin. She was a hero in 1840. Was she the biggest hero? She was the biggest hero from a standpoint of this. She was a hero, the biggest hero from a character standpoint, because she could have did this the whole time, and what it came down to was self-realization. And often enough times, that's what it comes down to with most normal people, is self-realization to do the right thing. You know, a lot of times she chose to do the wrong thing, and those wrong things did not help her. You know, again, choice and identity. I think those are several things you could apply to the character of Angelique. Of, yes, you got made a witch, but her realization of, wait, I don't have to do bad things just because I'm a witch. I have control over my own powers. I have control over my own life. I have so much control over my own destiny, and the rest is up to fate. Unfortunately, you know, I keep thinking back when Angelique cursed Barnabas. Maybe Barnabas was never meant to have a lover. Do you ever think about that? Maybe Angelique's curse isn't really Angelique's curse. It's just Barnabas's curse in general. It's maybe Barnabas was just never meant to have a lover, whether it be Josette, Angelique, Victoria. Some people aren't meant to find love. And certainly, guess what? Angelique could fit that bill too. Now, you could say they did find love in the wake of death, of Angelique's death. And yes, they did. They found each other at the point of Angelique dying. And again, it goes back to maybe Barnabas was just never meant to marry or have a lover for the rest of his life. And you can get into the debate whether whose fault that is or isn't. That's where I'll leave you guys to debate that. It's all you. I think Angelique is one of the most interesting characters in Dark Shadows history. Angelique, who is played by the great Laura Parker, what an amazing actress. You know, she sold her ass off, and she sold this character, whether she was an antagonist or a protagonist. To me, there was no better witch ever in history. Look, I've watched The Wizard of Oz, I've watched The Witches of Eastwick, I watched Practical Magic. Yes, I've watched Practical Magic. I've watched Hocus Pocus. I watched The Craft. There was no better witch than Angelique, played by Laura Parker. So, was she Dark Shadow's biggest hero? She was. In her final moments, in her true blue final moments, she chose to be the person she always was, instead of being the person she had been prior to that. And what I mean by that is, let me sort of rephrase that. She chose to be the human being she always was. She chose to show human emotion despite having witch's powers. The biggest cop-out here is, ploy is, Angelique, though a witch, doesn't mean she doesn't have any emotion to her. Her emotion is often what gets the better of her. Her emotion often is why she does a lot of these spells. Her pure emotion of hate is an emotion. You know, hate, yes, hate is a choice, but hate is also an emotion. Love is an emotion. She's doing them out of the love for Barnabas and out of the hate that Barnabas doesn't love her back. Emotion, emotion, emotion. So her emotions got the better of her. You could argue maturity if you wanted to. So there's just so much to look at, Angelique. It's more than just skin deep. It's more than just skin. You've got to look deep with Angelique and this character and how Laura Parker portrayed her. We love you, Parker. We do. We really, really do. Beautiful girl. Beautiful. Alright, guys. That's my video. I hope I didn't ramble too much. Have a good night.